Good night and welcome to the Zenaida Moya show. I am your host, Zenaida Moya. Tonight, we're going to have a very interesting, informative, and I must say empowering show. Before we start, I'd like to acknowledge our advertisers, our sponsors for tonight's show and for the Zenaida Moya show in general. We have Zitra International, Universal Hardware, Smart Belize, Belize Electricity Limited, and Moya Shepherd and Company Limited. All right, tonight, as is usual, we discuss about national issues that affect Belize. We discuss it in a manner that is educational and informative, but we also look at solutions. We always do our best to try and look at solutions or recommendations, and that is what we'll be doing tonight. Tonight, we are joined by Mr. Troy Gabb, no stranger to Belize, very intelligent, outspoken, and I must say a very objective individual, whereby we'll be discussing the economy. Welcome to the show, Troy.
Certainly, thanks for having me, and certainly special good night to all the CREM viewers. I'm certainly good to be here, and thank you for inviting me.
Yes, thank you too. And Troy has a financial background, a background that is very important when we're discussing the economy. And as an economist, I always feel that discussing the economy is something we have to look at, especially when we look at the social ills facing our country. And as you very well know, there are a number of social ills facing our country. Of course, unemployment, poverty, crime are at the top of those, and we can discuss some more. However, those are the ones we want to zero in on and look at it with a keen eye and look at it through the lens of someone who has a financial background. He has held different positions in government, at the quasi-government level as well, and he is someone. You're still a lecturer.
Still a lecturer.
You're still a lecturer at the University.
That is correct.
Of Belize, and so he's someone that also imparts knowledge on our young people and on those aspiring to lead this country. And so tonight, Troy, all right, this is something that I've wanted to do for a while. I know I had invited you before, however, a couple weeks ago, but you could not make it because you were teaching.
Right.
All right, so you could not make it. And so I feel very enthused that you're here tonight because I like discussing these things.
Certainly, and like I said, glad to be here. Previously, because of the fact of my obligation for lecturing, I couldn't join, but right now school is on break. The semester has finished, and so I get an opportunity to be here.
And then Troy, a little bit about yourself. You have held different positions. One of them key, you were the CEO at the DFC, right?
Right,
Development
I was
Finance
the Chief Executive Officer for the Development Finance Corporation. I was also the Chief Executive Officer for Universal Health Services. Yes. But previously, before that, I was with BTL, where I was the Executive Manager for Administration and Human Resources.
Okay.
And I also had managed the Renaissance Tower as well, up to the end of April.
Okay.
And I'm also an adjunct lecturer at the University of Belize. In another life, some people will say that I was also a trade unionist. I was president of my union, which was the Belize Telecommunication Workers Union. I was an executive of the National Trade Union Congress. I was a part of the whole civic duty. I was the commissioner for semi-professional basketball at one time. So president for the Bodybuilding Association. So I've been involved in a lot of...
Troy, I'm glad you said all those things because...
A lot of things that
wow.
Makes, keeps me busy.
Yeah, and also allows you to have a broad background that we need right now to look, to look objectively at the economy. And a trade unionist as well. So
yes, I was. Actually, I started all the way back as member of the Public Service Union because at that time, the public service union represented the telecommunication companies.
Yes.
And then the BTL felt at that point in time that they wanted to represent themselves. So I
Yes.
was a part of the first executive that broke away from the public service union and formed what that at that time was Belize Telecommunication Workers Union, now
Wow.
called just the Belize Communication Workers Union.
Wow, I'm quite impressed.
And in addition to that, at that point in time, we also represented, and I think Pacliff could attest to this, the Radio Belize staff as well. You know.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So
the staff
Pacliff, you were
Belize,
at Radio Belize as well. Oh my gosh! So we have history here. History.
That was his impetus.
Oh wow! Quite impressive.
Embryo stage.
And then you said, of course, Belize Basketball Association and Belize Bodybuilding Association.
Yes. Yeah, I started out as the operation manager for semi-pro basketball back in 1993, and eventually became the commissioner. And I did that for 6 years.
Yes.
And until I moved away from it. And when I moved away from it, there was a significant lull. I'm glad to see now that under the new structure referred to as the National Elite Basketball League, or an
Yes.
EBL, that we are able to bring back basketball at this highest level, and I'm certainly impressed by the work that is being done by the people leading it at this point in time.
Very nice. And of course, Bodybuilding Association is my
Yes.
is something I also love, because I try to make every event that I can as long as I'm in the country, because that's one of the things I've been attending from I was a young girl.
Yes, it was. I remember having one of the largest shows, I'm told, at the Belize City Center, and it, you know, there may have been maybe over close to 3,000 people that had attended that Mr. Belize.
Yes.
At that point in time, I'd moved it away then from the old Bliss Institute that they used to have it at that point in time, and it was a huge show. You know, and I think if you talk to any of the older bodybuilders, they will tell you that's the best exposure that they've ever had at that point in time.
I remember
So
seeing you in your white shirt and things. But I have to bring up those things to show that you're not just about one area, you know, and so there's different areas, because when we speak about the economy, you know, people will say, oh, it's just one area, it's just figures. But you see, you have to look at at many different sectors to be able to, you know, analytically look at the economy. All right. So
absolutely. And just to come back to the basketball issue, not to dwell on one issue, but if you look back at what semi-pro basketball was at that in those days, and I think oftentimes in the mandala, which obviously is published right on this compound,
yes,
speaks about it all the time in the sense that it was an industry.
Yes, it was.
It was an industry, because everybody, when semi-pro season is on, quite a large number of people participate in making money. Yes. Which is, you know, from the snow cones vendor to the food vendor, the juice. I remember Belizean, who now works at JL's. I mean, that was a stable for semi-pro basketball. Then you have all the clubs, the spin-off, the boutiques.
I remember Santino's, Hot Points, and Crema Mandala Raiders were the ones who were like really.
So it was an industry that, and still continues to be. And so as far as I'm concerned, it behooves me why there's not much more emphasis on these sports, because so many people get to make a living, and substantial living, because every trickle comes in the economy, and particularly the informal market, because that's what really holds up an economy. It's the informal market, not necessarily all the big businesses, but it's all those small vendors and people that you see on the street, the tacos vendors, those persons that are maybe just paying the sidewalk fee, as opposed to the trade license and business tax and all those things. But at the end of the day, those are the persons that are feeding their family. When you see all these tour guides out there trying to get a little tour, sometimes they're only going to make $40, $50, but that is enough to feed their family. They're able to buy some rice, some beans, some chicken, some bread, and so the family is able to eat. I've always said on my show, which is the business hour that I do on Love FM,
Yes.
is that I don't want to see the government put a lot of business people in a room to talk about the economy. I want them to bring some of those single mothers who are making 150 or 175 a week and let them tell us
That's right.
how they're able to feed, clothe, and send all their kids to school on that
I was
small
discussing
salary.
that yesterday with someone. I was telling them that exact thing. I said the single mothers, enough respect to the single fathers and to fathers in general, all right, because they hold a very key role. Without them, a lot of our children go astray. But I said, you know what? You know why I have so much respect and I have so much care for single mothers? Because they will make $1 out of 15 cents.
Yeah, that's true.
They will stretch that money. They may bring in, let's say, some of them $120 if they're working a week.
Yeah,
But they have sometimes 4 or 5 children, and those children they still go to church. A lot of times they go to school. Their hair is combed nicely. They still look clean. They still are doing well in school, and I'm like, only a mother could do that, because I have seen them in action, and so enough respect to those mothers, and they know what it is to help them manage their money at the home level.
They are the best economists,
Yes.
as far as I'm concerned, in terms of managing the supply and demand, where there's a small supply of money and a large demand for goods and services, in terms of providing what it is for their children and the household.
Yes.
And they're able to take care and provide all those things, pay the bills and everything. And those are the persons I would like to see in the room.
That's
to kind
right.
of give guidance to the government entity on how to run a household, and
Yes.
therefore that transcends to how to run a government, how to run a business, obviously, and how to run a government.
I will definitely concur with that, Troy. And speaking of the economy, the larger economy, because we're going to move out of the house, we're going to come back, because
Yeah, from
it
the
all
micro
comes,
level to the
yeah,
macro
it
level.
all comes back. And I want to say, give us an overview of the economy as you see it, because I want us to look at the different sectors to see what's performing, what's not performing at the moment, and with a view to looking at areas that we can have more Belizeans get into.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Our economy is what is considered an open economy for the most part. We are driven by the whole concept of capitalism, and therefore investment is important. What we see as an open economy and an importing economy at that means that in order for us to pay for imports mean that we have to be able to export or earn US dollars to pay.
Yes.
And as you well know, and I think it's common knowledge to everyone that there's a huge imbalance in terms of our trade, meaning that we are importing more than we are exporting. So there is a significant greater net deficit in terms of the demand for US dollars, because everything that we import we have to pay for in what is considered foreign currency. And so every time we are importing stuff, it means that we are putting pressure on our foreign exchange. So there's always a need for two things. One, for greater investment that is going to be able to morph itself into export.
Yes.
So tourism is considered one of the greatest foreign exchange earner for us, or the largest foreign exchange earner,
Sure
because
is.
when the guests come from outside, i.e. whether they're overnight tourism or it's on a cruise ship, they bring US dollars. So our objective is to get them to spend as much US dollars as they possibly can, which comes into our system one way or the other.
Yes.
One of the things that happens in Belize that is not necessarily unique, but just people need to understand, is that right now US dollars is traded almost similarly as a Belize dollar, and they use the 2-to-1 exchange. So you may go to the store, even though the exchange control says that it is not legal to trade in any other tender other than Belize dollars.
Yes.
I guess the authorities just allow it to happen, and it makes for freer flow of trade.
Yes.
So you don't have this bottleneck for cambios and all of that setup that we had tried earlier, but really didn't work. And because now with the whole advent of money laundering and all of that, makes the cambio was something that was never supported by especially the United States in reference to these cambios, because it was seen as a way where it was unregulated for the most part, and therefore a lot of things can go on there. In the same light that places like the Corozal Free Zone or the free zones are looked at and frowned at by the foreign authorities. So to get back to your question,
but it was a way of life.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the free zone really and truly was what is called a bubbling pot of commerce and employment, driven primarily, especially in the late 90s and early 2000s, by the low cost of fuel that was available in the zone. But of course, you can't expect the Mexicans to have stood by and allow that flow of their money, of income coming into our country,
yes,
and not do something about it. So what they did was to make their fuel more competitive and more affordable, so that diminishes the incentive to come across into Belize. Because when you came across for the fuel, of course you picked up other stuff.
Yes.
You bought clothes, you bought other things in the process. And so that created the major commerce that was occurring within the free zone. But of course, the Mexican, their Chamber of Commerce, looked at that and say, this is a drain. And in addition to that, they put investment also in their economy. They put up malls, they put up like Sam's, Walmart, things that now balance the trade deficit by having us now go over there
Belizeans
and spend over $300 million a year, which is a substantial drain on our economy. And we have to find a way to fix that at some point in time, because they found a way to minimize the drain on their economy, in particularly the Chetamala or the southern Mexican states.
We definitely have to look at that. We're going to have to go to our first commercial break, but we have to look at that because that is damaging to a great extent our local economy. Our local businessmen and women are deeply affected. And whilst our Belizeans feel, okay, go ahead and go support, go over there, and I'm stretching my dollar. You have to understand why they do it, but in the process, the economy is being affected. So we're going to go to our first ad break, and when we come back, we'll continue with this very exciting and informative discussion. Stay tuned.
Stronger, faster, comfortable, affordable, and powered by the trusted Cummins ISF 2.8-liter turbo diesel engine. We changed the way the game is played. The new Photon tunneling truck and View CS2 van. Available at Universal Hardware. Photon, the game changer is here.
When my clients come to me to capture their most intimate memories, they trust that my vision and hard work will reflect those special moments that are once in a lifetime. They trust to relive those moments through my images for a lifetime to come. That's why I trust Smart's new broadband unlimited internet service. Internet is no longer a luxury to me, but it is now a necessity. Smart relieves the heavy burden on my shoulders on how to deliver crisp, clean, high-resolution images to clients all around the world with this new, reliable, and affordable broadband internet service. With Smart's unlimited broadband internet service, I get faster upload speeds than any other provider. And their service is wireless all the way to my studio. I didn't have to wait for any kind of infrastructural expansion, and it was quickly set up with the fastest and most reliable broadband internet service in Belize. With only the click of a send, my clients are grateful to me, and for that, I am grateful to Smart, cause Smart the love.
Smart, bringing people together.
Buying or selling land can be a daunting experience. Don't leave things to chance. When buying or selling land in Belize, seek the professional real estate services of Moya Shepherd and Company Limited. Benefit from our extensive local and international network to find your dream home or to move your property from selling to sold. Our land consultancy services also include appraisals, conveyances, registrations, surveys, transfers, title searches, and the preparation of all other legal documentation and land transaction processes. We are located at 5 miles Philip Coulson Highway. Give us a call at 223-4465 or visit us at www.realestatebz.com.
The circle starts with solid support and a smile. This is real life. With its ups and its downs, this is going the extra mile. And the feeling you get when you can help someone along their journey. Through the twists and turns, we're here. This is Western Union, making sure your support reaches its destination. This is Western Union, moving money for better.
Welcome back to the Zenaida Moya Show. I am joined with my guest, Mr. Troy Gabb, and we have been discussing the economy of Belize. Now, Troy, before we went to break, we were discussing about the Curacao Free Zone, and I mentioned that what they have done in terms of ensuring that they put in place certain and spend on certain capital expenditures that we ought to have known they were going to do it, because I must say we had a flow of Mexicans coming into our free zone that even had more Belizean investors, you know, investing in the Curacao free zone. However, that has changed to a great extent, and some persons have even indicated that the Curacao free zone was dying. That was the main thing. So what is it exactly that Belizeans, that our investors ought to do? And I'm talking not only those in the free zone, but our business persons in Belize in general, to try and compete against that Mexican, that huge Mexican market.
Yes, and that's a great point, because if you look back at the letter written by the former governor of the central bank last year, yes, where he had wrote to the financial secretary and outlined a lot of scenarios that was affecting our foreign exchange. One of them was the Curacao free zone, that he says that the business was down 19%.
Okay.
So that's a significant chunk. And if you know, there's quite a large number of people in the northern zone that depends on the employment within that particular zone. So if that zone shrinks, yes, or happen to go away, then there's going to be a huge unemployment in terms of the north, because that has created so much economic activity.
Yes.
Now, if you look at what the Chamber of Commerce and the business people and the authorities in Chetumal did, what they tried to do was to find mechanism to keep the dollar at home, keep their money at home. And so we have to find mechanism as well to do that.
Yes.
Because people feel that they are getting so good value for money that they are able to come as far south as maybe PG and some excursion to go all the way north to Chetumal, to sit down hours on a bus to do that. Some people say, well, I blend it with some entertainment, because yes, there are things like movies and malls and little clubs and restaurants for people to go. And so they believe that they're not only doing their shopping, but they're getting a little bit of
A mini
of
vacation,
outing,
yes.
like a little mini vacation, especially long weekends. If you go there to the border, you'll see these huge lines
Yes.
of our people going across, and what those persons represent is actually dollars going that is earned here in Belize that we are taking out there.
Yes.
So I've always said to the Chamber of Commerce, this should be your major priority.
Yes.
This should be something that you look at how it is that you can ensure that those monies stay here. It is not that the quality is that higher. It's not that some of the goods are that much cheaper,
Yes.
but it's coupled with other things. So I believe that we have to find innovative ways to keep people here. Either meaning that it has to be a combination of the government, maybe at the front end, the government reduce the import duties on some of the goods so that the multiplier effect does not hit you in terms of the GST and the overall cost of the goods on the shelf. Because if you
open the market for the market for the different industries to stay alive.
Absolutely, because if you follow how a product is taxed, it is a multiplier effect. So when the goods come in, there's already an import cost.
Yes.
There's already a CIF cost to get it here. Then you have to put on your environmental tax, your import duty. Maybe there's RRD that you have to put on. Then there's sales tax. Then there is the cost of financing for the importer because he might be using borrowed money to bring in those goods. So there's an overdraft component. He has to make a markup.
Yes.
So you're looking at the cost of the goods landed. You're looking at all these taxes. Then you're looking at his cost of funds of money, his financing cost. Then you're looking at his markup. Then on top of that is the government GST.
Yes.
So you see how much components goes in.
RRD is revenue replacement duty. That's
right,
for people.
And so what you end up with is a situation where the goods on the shelf becomes extremely expensive when compared to Chetamal, which already have their tax in there, their VAT or IVA as they would say it in Spanish.
Yes.
So you end up where if as a solution the government says, listen, if I reduce my taxes at the back end, then I'm going to increase volume, meaning the goods are going to be cheaper.
Yes.
So it is not as attractive for me to get on a bus and go through the hassling to go over there. It is going to be cheaper for me to stay here.
Yes.
And as well, to find ways and incentive to make people invest in decent entertainment, and at the same time making sure that those investments employ people. So more people that are employed, then the possibility that transcends and correlate to lesser crime. Less crime, more people will come out.
Yes.
Because people used to come out.
People
If you go back in our younger days, when we used to walk home late at night, the only thing we were afraid of was ghosts.
Yes.
We weren't afraid of being robbed oftentimes. We were afraid of more ghosts and things that go boom in the night.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
and I'm not saying that to be facetious, that I'm just being realistic.
No, that's the case. I mean, because when I was younger, I remember, I'm a bit younger than you, Troy. The thing is, we'd walk with our mother, primarily our mother, and we would come in and we would buy our little dollar a burger right by Bridgefoot, Swing Bridge. Then it went to $2, a little chicken burger, and you walked along and you didn't expect anybody to hassle you or anything like that. But the point is, you had a lot of people out, so it wasn't only my mother bringing her children
but Clifford,
along.
remember things like window shopping. You go look on show window. You remember that? So I'm saying that stores used to leave their show window open, and have great displays, and people used to walk Albert Street or wherever, and that used to be a part of the entertainment. Yes, and you get your ice cream, and you have your burgers, you had your Tops fried chicken, you had your Joker soup. So those were icon businesses that flourish in the night. You had Megan Beans and all of that.
Right.
Those things may still be there, but at the end of the day, you don't have the same sort of freedom to move.
Yes.
Because people are trying to move maybe in taxis or their own vehicles, and so which drives up your cost. But we, as young persons, used to walk.
But Troy, the fuel has been very inhibitive in terms of allowing, and the electricity costs, of which we always want to know that we're ahead of the game in terms of we have lower overhead costs.
Right.
All right. Now, it has always been said that as it regards to fuel, yes, while fuel, we import fuel to a great extent. We import it to a great extent. So even though fuel has been found and all that, we import it to a great extent. The cost is still at a level that restricts many different industries. It's always been said government can do something about it, all right? So that we're more competitive. What's your view on that? And in terms of other overhead costs that you feel government, it would be in the government's best interest to possibly reduce those so that the economy would grow, GDP would increase, you'd have higher employment, less persons would be going out, you'll have more investors, including Belizean investors, not only foreign, Belizean investors wanting to invest in Belize.
Right. Well, let me say this. Presently, right now, in our banking system, there is a tremendous amount of excess liquidity, almost $500 million. That's a $500 million just sitting in the banks, where the banks are holding on to this money. It's costing them. They're in the business of lending. They are busy looking for willing borrowers or qualified borrowers, and that is very hard to find. I think the government needs to start look at some component in terms of a secondary market, so that you could create this sort of merchant banking position where the banks can syndicate in terms of providing funding for either infrastructure or whatever else large industry that may want to provide service, financing for. But it can happen, but we have to put in place the enabling environment and legislation to do that. But to put it frankly, fuel is the easiest component that government can tax because it's an inelastic product. It doesn't matter how much you tax it, that people will have to find a way to use it. Because most industries, or all industries, are very dependent on fuel. So government find it as the easiest road to travel. And so government tax it almost 50% of what you pay at the pump goes directly to the consolidated funds in terms of taxes. Now, to be quite clear to our listeners, is we import all our fuel because the fuel that is found in Belize those are not refined and it's exported as crude.
They have a little place on Boom Road.
The only gas we use is the butane component, which is the gas component that comes off that B&E sells, and my good friend CDs Bissett sells it on the Boom Road. CD's gas station. But in terms of the actual fuel that you use for your vehicle and so, those as opposed to people doing some rudimentary refinery, which is not done on a commercial level, but we import. So we import diesel and regular still through the Venezuelan, PDVSA. And then our premium comes, Puma imports that from the Gulf because it is no longer viable for Venezuela to send us the premium because they themselves don't do much of their own refinery. Because if anybody knows Venezuela, while they have the 5th largest reserve in the world, their crude is very, very hard. They have what is called a hard crude, and so it costs a little bit more to refine. But yes, we do import, while the whole concept of PetroCaribe has ended. That no longer exists in terms of the structure that was there where you pay a portion. We still import from Venezuela, but we pay them upfront in 90 days. But to answer your question, is every single industry depends on fuel. So when fuel goes up, then the cost of your operation goes up. Transportation goes up. So for getting from point A to point B. So even if you're doing, say, Boeing, who does distribution, it means that their cost of distribution is going to go up.
Yes.
Because they have to be trucking their goods from point A to point B to your shop, to this shop, to that shop.
And the cost
That's
is
a
passed
cost.
on to the consumers.
And it passes on to the
Ultimately,
consumers, because
has
when
to.
they look at their fuel bill in comparison to, say, the previous period, they're saying, oh, it's gone up 5%, 2%. Then they will have to find a mechanism in place to be able to recover that at some point in time. So that is why you see these tweaking in prices from time to time. Of course, recently, in terms of soft drink, that has gone up because the excise on that has gone up as well. The government has put that on cigarettes and alcohol beverages as well as soft drinks. That has gone up. So these things have a multiplier effect. So even the little tacos vendor, the person who has to go and distribute or deliver the tortillas to her, or the person who have to deliver the chicken, that cost is passed on. And so that pass on, and then when you hear, well, tacos gone from $4 to $3 to $2, it is because of those things. Meat pie recently went up because the persons are saying the inputs have gone up because of the increase in taxes, and so the end price. And this is why I'm saying that when the input prices go up down the chain of production, then the end price is going to be extremely higher, because it takes in consideration all those things, and it takes a percentage of that cost and call it the GST. Because remember, GST is on almost every single good. Very few goods are zero rated at this point in time. As a matter of fact, there's been a confusion right now as to which goods are zero rated and which is not. And there's always a haggling between the GST people and the shopkeepers when they're trying to do their netting off on claims.
There's always a haggling with the GST people and all business, all business persons.
Because remember, in addition to that, you have another cost to your business that now oftentimes overlooked, which is business tax. Business tax is, while GST is not a cost to the business, it's a cost to the consumer. It's a consumer tax. So you pay it at the point of consumption, or when you purchase. To the business person, he has to pay whatever percentage based on the business he or she is in. That's a cost to that business.
Correct.
So that also has to be calculated in there. So whether you're paying 1.75% of your gross, whether it's 3% of your gross, whether you're a professional paying 6%, those costs are passed on to the consumer. And when you pass it on, it has the GST built into it. So it drives up the cost. The government ends up with much more money in the consolidated fund. And so my suggestion is you have to do a comprehensive look at the tax system. But if the government can make the goods cheaper on the shelves in conjunction with the private sector and the business people, there's a possibility more people are going to purchase here in Belize, especially if it is that they believe they're getting better quality.
Exactly. And on a whole, I believe Belizeans would want to know that their economy is thriving and they're supporting their local businesses, but some will immediately tell you that, hey, they have to stretch their dollar. So we're going to go to our second ad break, and when we come back, we're going to discuss a bit more about the economy and some recommendations. I always like to talk about recommendations.
Absolutely.
We talk about problems, we talk about issues, but I'm someone who always believe, hey, I want to hear some recommendations.
Absolutely.
So stay tuned. We'll be right back after these messages.
Buying or selling land can be a daunting experience. Don't leave things to chance. When buying or selling land in Belize, seek the professional real estate services of Moya Shepherd and Company Limited. Benefit from our extensive local and international network to find your dream home or to move your property from selling to sold. Our land consultancy services also include appraisals, conveyances, registrations, surveys, transfers, title searches, and the preparation of all other legal documentation and land transaction processes. We are located at 5 miles Philip Coulson Highway. Give us a call at 223-4465 or visit us at www.realestatebz.com.
The circle starts with solid support and a smile. This is real life. With its ups and its downs. This is going the extra mile. And the feeling you get when you can help someone along their journey. Through the twists and turns, we're here. This is Western Union, making sure your support reaches its destination. This is Western Union, moving money for better.
I just got tired of making someone else rich. It's time I do something for me. I was a bit nervous at first, but I went and I got all the equipment I needed at Universal Hardware. I know that even after sale, they will stay with me for the life of the equipment. I have a peace of mind with service and reliability, and more time with the family. Glad I did. Get the bragging rights you deserve. Visit Universal Hardware for sure.
Smart's Broadband Unlimited Internet is available in all 6 districts. Sign up and get your modem and installation free. Enjoy the fastest, most reliable broadband internet for your home or office. Now offering 1 megabyte for only $55. Sign up and get installation and equipment free.
Welcome back to the Zenaida Moya Show. We have been having a very exciting and informative discussion. I want us to go now into the empowering aspect of it, Troy. Now we have, because of the short time of the show, I would have wanted us to also go into the traditional, discuss some of the traditional industries.
Citrus, sugar.
And so I'd want us to discuss briefly about those, but also the different taxes that our business persons at all level have to deal with. And when young persons, when people in general are starting up their own business, all these taxes come at them that oftentimes they can't even get their foot out of the door because they have to pay all these taxes. You have your trade license.
Absolutely.
You know, if you're doing liquor, you have your liquor license. Of course, you have your property tax if you're not renting.
Yeah, if you're not renting.
You understand? You have to deal with the GST aspect. You have
your business tax.
Your business tax.
Direct cost to the business.
If you're importing, you have
all the custom duties.
all of those. And then, of course, you have to pay Social Security.
If you have employees.
If you have employees, and oftentimes you do need employees.
Yeah. And remember, you pay 5 times, and they pay 1/6, and you pay 5/6.
Yeah. And then the electrical, I mean, your overhead costs. So electricity, once it's 100 and over, you have to
the social rate
from 200 to 100.
Yeah. So
and you have your telephone costs, whatever other costs there are.
Your water costs.
Yes,
water costs. So there's a tremendous cost to business indeed.
Let's discuss about that. We don't have much time, but I do want to touch upon our traditional sector, and then I want to come back to this aspect and see what can be done to assist our business persons at all levels, but primarily those who are trying to get themselves off the ground, and the small and the medium, because those are the ones who oftentimes are affected so much.
Let's just look at our traditional industries that had existed for some time now. Of course, sugar being one of the main one, is one of the large foreign exchange earner for this country. So when the sugar price is up and the production is up, then there is always a tremendous amount of inflows of US dollars. People in the industry will know that there's an arrangement with BSI, ASR, BSI at this point in time, but from ever since there's a 65-35 split in terms of the net earnings from the sale of the sugar. So when the sugar is sold on the international market and after all the expenses have been taken out, there's a net surplus.
Yes.
That's a 65-35 split between the cane farmers getting 65 and 35 goes to the millers, which is ASR, BSI. When the price falls, then it means that the amount of that 65-35 split shrinks. Now, we don't expect to get that 35% because the miller will trap that out there and not bring that into Belize.
Okay.
They will only bring what they need to run their operations. But the 65 comes in through the central bank. There's a conversion, and so we get the benefit of the US dollars, which then forms part of our foreign reserve, enable for us to, the government to debt service like the super bond and CDB, Petrocarib, what have you. But when the price shrink like it has recently, it means the government get less foreign exchange, and it means that there's less circulation of Belize dollars to the farmers on the ground. So it creates much more hardship for them if they had bank loans and they had expectation to get to X amount of money. So if anybody remember, there was this situation where the price per ton had fell from like $72 to like 45. So there was almost a 50% decrease in your expected income. So that impacted the economy, impacted the foreign exchange, and it showed up. It showed up with the fact that the government ended up with a situation where they were extremely concerned that they would not be in a position to debt service the external bond, and therefore had to renegotiate so that they could improve the outflow of cash that they would have to do in any one time. If you move to banana, which is one of the most stable industries, once you don't have any major disaster, I think they've overcome the issue of any sort of diseases. But certainly we're starting tomorrow, the hurricane season, and you know, banana can't take too much cold and it can't take too much wind. So if the wind get too gusty, you know, it breaks them, it bends them, and so it affects it root them up, and it affects the crop. That is also a very good earner. We don't know going forward how that is going to play out, as well as most persons in the industry also knows, is that FIFO is the main importer, or the persons or a purchaser of our banana has sold out to a new company called Sumitomo, and maybe the arrangement may shift, but I have not heard any significant outcry from that industry, so I figure that they are
and
stable.
there's also a large a local business person who was into, was it Mayan King? Was it? Were they the ones who would, I believe they're now doing tourism, if I'm not mistaken?
We're basically impacted by that significantly because that was 1/3 of the industry. Where they were blacklisted, and therefore many of the company, the importer, FICE in particular, felt that it was not prudent for them to deal with that company because they were blacklisted, because they didn't want to be sanctioned by the US as well. And so that entire operation, which is about 1/3 of the industry, actually dried up. And so we have lost that input of foreign exchange. However, there is a feeling, I don't have the data at this point in time, that other persons are trying to pick up the slack to increase the production and therefore to continue to meet that same quota. But that hurt the economy as well, because it meant that if the industry was bringing in, for argument's sake, 100 million, then it meant that about $13 million didn't come in because that farmers went into the funk, meaning that whatever they had in production, they were unable to harvest because there were nobody who was going to buy it from them at that amount. So that was allowed to just rot. People tell me right now that the field is taken over by trumpet trees and what have you, which is basically a form of weed that takes over banana fields. No?
Troy, in terms of getting back to our smaller businesses, business persons and medium size as well, we mentioned about the overhead costs. What areas do you feel are thriving that persons can get into if they want to become entrepreneurs rather, than just working for persons? What areas?
Well, certainly the tourism
Tourism,
sector
yes.
is one of the expanding sector. I believe that as time progresses, it will continue to be a thriving sector for this region as long as we can continue to keep this region extremely safe. We feel the weather is certainly an attraction, and especially with the continued noise in the Middle East and those areas, hopefully we'll be able to get an influx of, in particular the European market, more. We have to work on trying to get it, to make it a little bit more cheaper to get to Belize, and where they can then enjoy what we have to offer. But certainly, getting into a small boutique type hotel,
Yes.
there's a great market right now for what is called Airbnb,
Yes, right.
which is basically a sort of bed and breakfast situation where it operates almost like Uber in the United States, is where you can advertise a room in your house and people are able to live within the domestic and the colloquial environment, because there's a lot of people who don't want the sterileness of these high-end hotels, and our people who are want to do a vacation on a budget, so they're able to do that a little bit cheaper. So
The thing I'll tell you about that though, Troy, is that there has been an outcry when it comes to the fact that because there's a lot of Belizeans now who are getting into the Airbnb and trying to do their vacation rentals, that BTB are taxing them, are going after all of these persons in terms of the 9% tax.
Yeah.
For
Well,
them.
the 9% should be an add-on, really. It shouldn't be a cost to the business, but what it does, it makes you less competitive. Less competitive, because now you have to pay the taxes on it.
And then you have to pay all the other overhead costs to try, and then you have to maintain your
asset. You have to be able to.
You have to be competitive on a whole, because you have a lot of other. You have competitors.
Because Uber is now the largest company in the world in terms of that particular structure.
Travel for transportation.
But yes, it is still an opportunity, because sometimes you have a room that is locked up or that you don't really use.
Yes.
That you can retrofit it, maybe very, very rudimentary, very low cost.
Yes.
And there are people out there, as long as because now you have these websites like Airbnb that you can promote your single room or your environment, and people who may want to live it among the community. Apparently there's a lot of people who are adventurous like that in this world, because it's a thriving
and I
business.
hope BTB persons from there are listening, because to try and go after, this industry whereby you have those persons who may never be able to be a part at a higher level as it regards to the tourism industry, they now can open up their rooms. If they have a room or a part of their homes, they can open it up and start to survive and not depend on government. And what's happening is, it seems that government and through BTB are going after those individuals.
No, they have made it clear.
They have to be careful.
Unfortunately,
you don't want dependency, so you want entrepreneurship.
I was at a presentation that the people from Airbnb had, and I think it was made clear by the BTB representative that the tax is applicable as well, because you're doing hotel business. And
they want the same standards as the regular hotels. And how can those smaller persons be able to have that high level standard? And to tell the truth, a lot of these visitors, they want to feel local. So it's not that they want to go there and have sheets all perfect like a hotel and all same color and all the fanciness. But I believe, it seems, even at that meeting I was at, that perhaps that's what BTB is looking at in terms of standards, because they have standards and you have to fulfill it just like a regular hotel.
Well, yes, in order for you to get your hotel license, there are certain requirements that you have to fulfill. But I agree with you that those things are where discussions need to continue to create opportunities for people to do their little mom and pop entrepreneurship. Yeah. Of course, you'll have the larger entities that are in that same business that are going to say, well, why are they getting that special break? and because they're competing with me technically, they're stealing some of my customers. But I like to think that many of the persons who do
A piece
this,
of the pie can be shared,
who
man.
do
Come
these
on.
Airbnb type arrangement may not have been in a position to even afford any of these 3 to 5 star settings. So
Yes.
so there is a market for that kind of
Yes.
people there, and so from an entrepreneurial standpoint, it's something to be looked at in terms of the tourism industry.
Definitely.
Certainly, the food business is
Mhm.
another area because people are looking for low cost, good food on a continuous basis.
Yes.
That's certainly for small. When we are talking about micro business, we're
Yes.
talking about these sidebar food vendors and so which do good business.
Mhm.
They have very little overhead, but they're reliant. They're able to be consistent, and they're able to be affordable.
How about services such as you may have persons who may not be able to go and go to a beauty salon and all that. Sometimes you may have individuals who go to your house, do your hair,
Absolutely.
makeup, things like that. That's a
In-house,
way.
in-house.
That's a way
Actually,
to
there is a guy who do courier.
Yes.
It goes by the name of Ron Man.
Yes.
And I thought that was a very applicable
Excellent.
name. Because we always refer to people who do some messenger service as Ron Man. I thought that was very applicable. And people want a breakfast.
That's right.
They call him and he go pick it up. They order it, he pick it up, and he charge a small fee. And I said that's entrepreneurship. He has
That's
a motorcycle. He made a small investment. So we have to start looking at that in terms of across the board, looking at ways how you don't necessarily have to be locked into an employment.
Yes.
Because you could do a lot of things on your own if you would just step back, and people find it all the time.
Look at what you can afford. Look at what you may want to do as well, because that's also
I always
a plus.
applaud Zenaida, the hair braiders.
Yes.
I felt that is so entrepreneurial of them, because oftentimes they used to stay by their home and they plait their friends' hair, and they had a lot of practice. And so that could have been transcended into a business out there.
Housekeeping as well. So they just need to be coordinated. They need a person, I believe, or an organization or an association that you'd be able to easily access them, but access your services. All right, we're at that time, Troy, and I'd want to hear your last words very quickly in a minute, so that I can go ahead and thank our sponsors. And
Certainly, my pleasure to be here. I want to leave with one advice, is that your dollar that you earn is very hard to come by, and it's a scarce resource, so I think you need to take good care of it. I always encourage everybody on my show is that you have to be thrifty. You don't buy what you don't need, don't buy what you want, but buy what you need, simply because the economy, as if things happen to slow down and we have problems in terms of earning or foreign exchange, the best thing for you to have is to have some level of liquidity. We're inside the hurricane season right now, so I want to urge everybody to prepare themselves in terms of their rations and so, because it's important that you have enough ration to last you at least a few days before the government would kick in. So with that, I'd like to say thank you and ask everybody to keep a good eye on their dollar.
all right, thank you, Troy. I'd want to make a few announcements other than thanking you, Troy. You've been
Certainly
a great
my
host,
pleasure.
and your expertise in the area is very much welcomed. I want to say that the Belize Girl Guides Association will be holding their Miss Girl Guide pageant at the Holy Redeemer Parish Hall this Saturday, 7 p.m. It's reserve is $15, general is $10 for adults, and you have $5 for children. So make it a date, take out your children, your loved ones, families are welcome, couples are welcome, it doesn't matter, single persons. Go out, support our Girl Guides. We always talk about trying to ensure that our young people are productive, our young people are doing good things. Well, here is a chance for you to see them in action and see their talents, and to support the Girl Guides Association, of which you can always have your girls be a part of it. It's the Girl Guide Hut. It's right next to the Anglican Cathedral Church, so you can go on down to visit them on Regent Street. And we also have a Facebook page. No, I'm the president of the Girl Guides Association, and so I want to ask you to be a part of the Girl Guides, whether if it's a friend of guiding or a guider, or of course sending an assistant guider, sending your children to be a part of this great, wonderful movement, of which I have been a part of since I was a child. I also want to say that our sponsors, the show has been, we have been continuing on, and we've had some very great sponsors. Zetra International, so whenever you want to do wire transfers and so forth, Zetra International, you have Universal Hardware, as the name says, hardware, so they have motorbikes, all kind of hardware, and stoves, you name it, they have it. Refrigerator, go on down, see what they have. Universal Hardware, they're right by Streetemal Street, so you can go on by there. Smart Belize for all your telecommunications services, internet, everything, go there, phones and so forth. Make sure you utilize Smart. Belize Electricity Limited, want to thank you, doing a great job ensuring that we have electricity to carry out all that we need to do in our household and for our businesses. Moya Shepherd and Company Limited, all your real estate needs, all your land transaction needs, the legal side of it, you can always count on Moya Shepherd and Company Limited. We're located at 5 miles Philip Wilson Highway, right next to the Hallover Bridge. The number is 223-4465, and we also have our Facebook page that you can always contact us. Queen of the Bay, all right, that's my baby as well. I'm also the national coordinator and the chairperson for Queen of the Bay. So I want to say that the Queen of the Bay, we will be holding our national pageant the 5th of August. And so we will be holding our district pageants. It's going to start the 8th of July. That's right, the 8th of July. Belize district will be holding their pageant. I want to say that Miss Doretta Valerio and Jennifer Smith, they're very keen into it. You can visit Miss Smith at the YWCA. So if you still want to be a part of and be an applicant, be a candidate, inbox them also at Facebook. That's the Queen of the Bay Belize District Facebook page. You also have the other districts that will be holding their pageants. I must say, Queen of the Bay San Pedro, they're also there, so you can contact them as well. Orange Walk, Queen of the Bay, Orange Walk, Cayo, Belmopan, Stan Creek, Queen of the West as well. So it's not only Belize District. So you have all of them. You can partake if you're a young person watching, or if your daughter wants to be a part of it, sister, inform them that the deadline is like right here. So quickly go to it and ensure that they sign up. We want to thank our viewers. Thank you for making the show a success, and continuing liking our Facebook page. And also the show will be posted on the YouTube channel, Zenaida Moya Show YouTube channel. Thank you to our production team. And as always, I always say, I want to thank my son and daughter, Kelvin and Natalia, for inspiring me to do this for the betterment of Belize. So I invite you to go ahead, like our page, it's Zenaida Moya Show page, and the YouTube channel, and to have a safe and blessed week. Be positive. Until next time, you have a great week. Thank you.